Now, it's not often that the International Monetary Fund admits to internal disagreements, but even it can't decide on what to do about Greece's never-ending debt saga. In its annual review of the Greek bailout programme, it says most of its directors believe it's time to lift the pressure on the government and its people. But not all of its directors agree, and now the government says it has had enough of austerity. Arabella Munro reports.
The IMF says Greece will probably need more debt relief, but it can't agree on how this can be done. In a statement, it acknowledged how hard austerity has been on Greek people, saying most directors considered that, despite Greece's enormous sacrifices and European partners' generous support, further relief may well be required to restore debt sustainability. But it also called for further harsh austerity measures, saying debt relief needs to be complemented with strong policy implementation to restore growth and sustainability.
The government's position is clear, and it has been expressed categorically for a long time now. Our aim is to not yield to illogical demands by the International Monetary Fund.
Most of the IMF's board doesn't think Greece can reach a surplus of 3.5% of GDP by 2018 without more pension cuts and tax increases. That's the target its European lenders are demanding. An agreement over Greece's future is long overdue, but now the IMF itself is divided, and that could mean further delay. More than a year of bickering between the fund and Eurozone ministers has delayed progress on the $92 billion bailout program agreed in 2015. The IMF says the fiscal targets Greece's European creditors are demanding are too high and wants more long-term debt relief measures. But it's a toxic political issue in the rest of the bloc, with elections coming up for its biggest creditor, Germany, later this year. The country's debt goes up by $39,000 every minute, with the total mountain just under $370 billion. That's more than 175% of GDP, the highest in the Eurozone. It also has the worst unemployment rate in Europe, with 1 in 4 people out of work. The government has 3 weeks to try and find a compromise before Eurozone finance ministers next meet. Or the stalemate could mean another political crisis and leave Greek people struggling under more austerity. Arabella Munro, TRT World.
Now, TRT World spoke to Greece's former finance minister, who says he's concerned about the role Europe and the IMF are playing in Greece's future. Our reporter Nicole Johnston will have more on that on Wednesday. But first, here's some of her interview with Yanis Varoufakis.
Well, the IMF has been saying this since 2011, a year too late. The Greek debt became explosive in 2010, when a bankrupt state was given the largest loan in human history on condition of shrinking an already feeble income further. So I'm very much afraid that the IMF has been doing a mea culpa for far too long now without a substantial effect on the situation. Greece was crushed in 2015 when we were putting forward to the IMF, to the ECB, and to the European Commission very sensible proposals on how to restructure the debt without haircuts. I was proposing 5 different kinds of debt swaps to them, very moderate solutions to the problem. There was a concerted effort by the creditors to crush Greece. And the only reason for that was it was kind of 19th century gunboat diplomacy of crushing Greece to send a signal to the Spaniards, to the Italians, to the Irish, and ultimately to the French. So now the European Union is getting its comeuppance. They're getting what they deserve.